Stand by.
You're on.
Welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Pflugerville. By the way, if you're on YouTube, we have our own YouTube channel. You just go on Unity Pflugerville, and there's a big logo there. You click on the logo, and you get all of our good things. Okay. So anyway, our message today is from a very, very interesting background. There was a guy by the name of Eden Almas, and I read a quote that he had, and it was a quote from 1950, 1960, and he was evidently, I wasn't familiar with him, but evidently he was part of the, let's call it the hippie group at that point in time, okay, which was very, very influential in talking about bringing love into our society. And it's the title of a song that he wrote, and I will try to sing it for you, but I'm not going to do that. But you've heard it, because it's a very haunting, very riveting song. And the last phrase of the song is, the greatest thing you will ever learn is just to love and to be loved in return. And it triggered me. I was thinking about it. We're living in a civilization of turmoil and grief. Okay? Folks, we can't even get people together. We've got a political party that's over here, and they're trying to put one of the presidents in jail. And over here we got the opposite political party doing the same thing with the current president. And both of them have a story which is really, really criminal in basis. And it depends on which side you're in. For goodness sakes, go look. Because both of them are in jeopardy criminally. Okay? Now, it's a conversation, and it's a hype. However, that's how polarized we are. Okay? Now, anybody agree that's not love? Okay, so how do we get together? And the only reason I bring that up is it's an indication of what we're doing, where we are, and where our thinking has gotten to so fragmented that the question is, how do we get back to ground zero? And ground zero, as far as I'm concerned, is the garden of Eden consciousness. Okay? And that phrase, the greatest thing you will ever learn is just to love and to be loved in return. And I want to spend some time on that. Now, a lot of you know that I work, and we have a group that works through the course of love. As a matter of fact, we keep going through it over and over and over again. And there was a part of it, one of the groups this week, we were doing some work, and I want to read this part of it. And I'm going to be reading a lot. Madeline tells me not to read, but I feel necessary today. And of course, the love is talking in this instance, and it is saying, accept the present. Now, here's the key. God created everything, and He said everything was perfect. Okay? So what does that mean? Everything in our world is perfect. Now, the problem is, it sure doesn't look that way. And I have a hard time accepting who I am in that mess. So, you ready? So the key really is we can't remove ourselves from life. Anybody agree? Now we can choose to, which is the back door. We're not going to talk about that. But we are in life, and when I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to have to live with life today, and I'm going to have to live today with life. Agree? Do you have a choice to live with life? See, that's the only choice you have. So if you're going to live with life, the next thing is you can't remove yourself. What choice do you have but to join with it? To love it and appreciate it and honor it. And it goes on, love yourself enough to accept yourself. So the question is, have you accepted yourself? So the first thing in love is to love yourself. Now, I don't know about you, but the world is telling us that as a matter of fact, anybody agree that TV ads tell us what we don't have? In other words, honor our deodorants, unless you do this, you do, There's all kinds of things to help us become better at what we're doing, which is an implied thing that says you're not good enough. And so unless you're educated, you don't have a good enough. Anybody agree there's never enough education? Okay, because you go on and on and on and on and on. As a matter of fact, some people do that. They keep doing degree after degree after degree because there's never enough. So what does that mean? It's reaching the point where you love yourself and you're willing to accept yourself just as I am. Okay, now, the song you just sang before the meditation, I'm complete and whole, just as I am. So we are, and what's interesting to me is Larry has been working on music up and down for the last few months. Agree? Anybody agree the songs are really now working? They really are. Because it's talking about our message and what we're doing. So the first person to love is who? Yourself. And I want everybody right now, I'm complete and whole just as I am right now today. Everybody ready? I'm complete and whole just as I am right now today. Which means right now. Okay? And do I have to do anything other than that? No. We have been given choice. The kingdom of heaven is within. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Okay? As a man or a human thinketh, so are they. So you can make a choice to be complete and whole. Now, I know it's a stretch, but if you can't love somebody else, you have to love yourself first. Now it goes on. Love yourself enough to accept yourself. Love will transform normal, ordinary life into extraordinary life. So the energy of love is the healer. Okay, and it goes on, it says, loving exactly who you are and where you are in every moment is what will cause the transformation that will end your desire to remove yourself from life. And it's that inner desire that I'm not good enough to cover these issues. I'm not good enough to have a great conversation. I'm not good enough to get the job that I want. I'm not good enough for this. I'm not good enough for that. And it's that self-abrogation that creates the problems. So the first step is I love myself. And I'm complete and whole just as I am right now today. Let's say it together. You ready? I am complete and whole just as I am right now today. Now, do you feel a resistance in saying that? I can feel it. Okay? What will it take to have you convinced that that's true? And I'm not asking you to share that. I'm asking you to think about it. Do you realize how quiet it is right now? Because it's an issue. And we've been trained that you're not good enough. It's the whole purpose of the ego saying, well, you have to do this, you have to do that, or you have to wear pants to look cool, or you have to do this, or you can't wear glasses, or whatever it is. The world is telling us we're not good enough. So the biggest step is loving yourself. Okay? The power to affect change comes from acceptance and not acceptance the way things are, but acceptance of who you are in the present. Okay? I remember I asked you to do the 4 affirmations in the beginning. I am light. Jesus said we're the light of the world. And when we close the meetings, now we're doing a prayer of alignment, which is pretty much saying the same thing. But I am light. So when I say I am light, what does that mean? I radiate the energy of God. Because light is a metaphor for energy. Okay? I am love. And the question is, what is love? Love is simply the space that allows everything to occur without thought, if I can use that terminology. What I'd like you to do is do this, to put this like this, okay? And now say, I'm complete and whole, just as I am right now today. I am complete and whole, just as I am right now today. Okay? And what you're doing is bringing in the heart energy to the power center from your voice. Okay? Now, what would happen if you said this to yourself 20, 30 times a day, this way? You see, it means we have to create a new language. We have to accept life a new way. And the first step is, I am complete and whole just as I am. I love myself. Okay? Any more questions on that? Okay, now this is a whole book that tells me that. Okay? And we join welcome to join us on Wednesdays. Okay? Now, here's the key. Aries is his name. He said the thing to learn is to love and to be loved. And that's all you need to know. So what does that imply? Let's go back, and I really work on using common sense language. And common sense, if you really look at it, hello. In Genesis it says clearly, God created you in His image. He created us in His image. Okay? And then He said, and everything He created is good. So is there any place, any room for anything other than good? The answer is no. How can God create bad or evil or anything like that? It's an impossibility. Okay, so the question becomes, how come it occurs? Well, if you take a look at Genesis, in the first chapter it says, and God gave man power over what he thought, or human. So where did the problems come in? They came in from the human being thinking other than God's thoughts. So, what is normal for us? How should we be living? Okay? And the key to it is how we should be living. Okay, now, there's all kinds of things in this book, the Bible. And I just happen to, I'm going to read out of Luke 12. Because we've heard this. I've heard this in Sunday school. Of course, it was changed with you're guilty, so they forgive your sins, all that kind of stuff. Which isn't true, I'm not going there. But it says, Luke 12, and I'm going to start in verse 22. And it says, and remember, we're talking about the turmoil in the world, the worry about eating enough, the worry about having clothing, the worrying about having a car that doesn't have flat tires, worry about a car that runs, worry about where I live or my air conditioner running, all the worries of life. Everybody got it? And it says here, do not worry for your life. Now, this is what Jesus said, okay? And as far as we know, Jesus is and there have been other avatars in our earth experience, I understand. But we're focused on Jesus. And Jesus said, do not worry for your life. Okay? So, it says, do not worry for what you will eat, nor for your body, what you will wear, for life is much more important than food, and the body than clothing. And then he goes on to also observe the ravens, for they do not sow. God has fields then, how much more important are you than birds? Who among you by worrying can add to his stature 1 cubit? Or by worrying who could lose 10 pounds? Let's put it in today's vernacular, okay? Anybody worried? But no, I'm not going to ask that question. But the idea behind it is we worry about everything, and the ego sets worry up as the world's the way we should. And then it goes on to say that who among you by worrying can add stature? So if you're not able to do the smaller thing, why do you worry about the rest? So tell me, somebody help me, why do we worry? Stop and think about it. We all go into anxiety, excuse me, most of us. Some of you I know can walk on water, but why do we worry? Do you understand what programmed you worry? Because the ego has to keep us in fear in order to keep its grasp. Okay? Then it goes on. So if you're not able to do a small thing, observe the flowers. Anybody agree with flowers? Why do flowers exist?
To make us smile.
Yeah. They're there for our enjoyment. And they don't do anything other than become flowers. Okay? Nor they do not toil, nor do they spin, but he said to you, not even Solomon in all his glory, etc., and God clothes in such fashion because the field, which today is, and tomorrow falls into the fireplace, how much more is he to you? And then it goes on again. You ready? Do not be anxious. So we use the worry up here, now we're using the word anxious down here. So how many times? Now I'm picking one chapter chapter out of the Bible, but how many times does it say, don't worry in one form or another? But yet, what's an epidemic of our thoughts in today's world? And why do we live in the turmoil that we live? And if it's really true that our thinking creates form, and our thoughts create the world we live in, who created the world we live in? And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's the key to it is, first step, accept yourself, because you are a being of love. But we have forgotten that love is the main energy that we experience. However, we have to make it work. And we think by talking we can convince others. Anybody understand debate? All debate is somebody trying to prove somebody else wrong and they're right. Okay? Stop and think about that. Okay? The only thing a debate does is allow people that talk louder and might be more erudite to win. And then everybody, aren't they smart? Well, I have to vote for that. Okay, so it's all set up with this stuff. Well, anyway, you can tell I'm on a binge. Okay. And then, so don't be anxious about what you will eat. Let not your mind be disturbed by these things. Now, what does that say? Don't worry. Then it goes on, for the world and people seek it, but seek the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added to you. And what's the kingdom of God? Love. And so we have been, the language of God is love. And love is, can anybody describe love? See, it's one of those ambiguities. It's not lust, okay? It's not a physical thing, it's a spiritual thing. And it's a thing of letting go. Okay? Now, at the core of who we are, we are divine. Okay? Because we're created in the image and likeness of God. And Jesus says, the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Okay? The Father knows ahead of time what you need. So, when we start worrying, what do? We corrupt the code that the Father is already there to give us everything. I'm really interested. Madeline and I go into conversations occasionally. I've been trained to plan. She's been trained to plan excessively.
Oh, thanks.
What a team. That's right. What a team.
Well, it's interesting to me. I ponder these things. Okay, if I'm planning, maybe God already has the whole thing labeled and done, but I'm planning on top of it, changing it. So I don't know where is the medium that is God's way. Okay, when I let go and let God, how much do I let go? Well,
So one thing that I thought of when you said about like what are the effects of our worrying?
yes,
The thought that came to my mind is that we're cutting off the supply chain.
yeah. It's clear. See, the promises are, don't sweat it. Using the vernacular, don't worry. Okay? When it's time, you'll be taken care of. And we are terrified to do that. Okay? It's known as trust. Carlos Castaneda, some of you might know his work, but he talks about, there's a metaphor, but anyway, the metaphor is that he has a student, and the student is standing on the side of a cliff, and the student asks Castaneda, how do I know that I can fly? And Castaneda's answer was, step off. So do we get that radical? Do we really just step off? And so there's always that part of us that wants to hold back. It's like this whole focus on ministry thing. Larry and I went to the class down in Houston, and I knew it was going to change things. I knew that I had to let go. I had to step back and let him stay out of it. But you understand, I'm so busy trying to take care of you that, you can't get anything done unless I'm there to help you, which is crazy. It's wrong. Okay? So the question is, how much do I have to let go, and how much do I love? And if I love, how much do I trust? How much faith do I have? Okay? And then now there's a little bit more. Do not be afraid, O little flock. Your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. And what is the kingdom? Everything we promised from the Garden of Eden. And why did we have to leave the Garden of Eden? Because we learned the difference between right and wrong. And right and wrong is what? Thinking that there's good and evil. Okay? So who created where we are? Now, we're in this together, whether we know it or not. That's why I say it's important that we are part of a group that supports and loves each other. Okay? And you understand that the world out there is creating the world that we live in. It's what's called the oversoul of everybody's thought. So the question was, and the question came up, how can just me make a difference? Well, we can make a difference in our world, our personal world, and then in people and families. Anybody stop and think about it? Anybody thought that you're concerned about your families is creating their world? Anybody here have kids? Okay, how many times do you worry about them? Okay, and I've been thinking about that. We have a son-in-law in Phoenix that's going through some stuff popped up from his childhood, and he's working on it, trying to get it resolved. But it's like, oh my God, it's not going to work. Instead of, Michael, you're blessed, I know all is well. You see the difference? And I bring that up, I don't know why that came up, but the idea is, I am complete and whole, just as I am, and my family and everybody I know is the same.
But it all came through for him, too.
It did. Matter of fact, he's much better than he was in the beginning. Okay? You know why? Because he got attention, and people were impressed the way he handled the whole thing. So the negative event created positive in his life. But what would have happened is it could have gone the other way too. So how do we influence each other, and how do we influence the whole? Okay? And that's part of where we're going for our ministry. What do we talk about? What do you want me to talk about? What are you going to talk about? What are you going to study? What are you going to read? How much time are you going to spend in quiet? Whatever all these things are things that are part of the spiritual life. Now, I haven't even gotten into the rest of the stuff that I want to do. However, I got a new book this week. This is one of Charles Spinworth's books. I was just sharing it with Valerie. Reverend Velma Spence, those of you know Velma, she has agreed to do a class Thursday night on this online. And I'd just like to read the back cover, okay? Because it's exactly what we're talking about. People everywhere on earth are now realizing as never before that the well-being of this world rests with its inhabitants, us. Okay? It is no longer a religious dogma or a philosophical theory that the destiny of the race is in the hands of man. So we, as a group, how many are there? 7 billion now? But as a group, our destiny is in that core group. Humanity is built age after age only to find that its structures do not endure. So how many different governmental systems have gone through and fallen apart? Right now, as far as I can tell, capitalism is the only one that has worked over a long period of time. But they are faulty because the divine plan has not been consulted by the devil. So the consciousness of spirit that you are, the divinity that you hold within you, has not been integrated into the conversation. Okay? So, our Bible plainly teaches that God implanted in man executive ability. Isn't that interesting? You have an executive ability to run your life. You are in charge of yourself. We call that sovereign human being. You're a child of God with the right and the privilege to run your life. And let God do it. Then it goes on and says, executive to carry out all the creative plans of the great architect. So who brings in the plans of God is you. Okay, us as a group. The great and most important issue before people today is the development of man's spiritual mind. So how do we develop the spiritual mind? Prayer, meditation, reading books, study, hanging out with each other and making a difference, speaking only good, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Then it goes on and says, and through it, unity with God. Okay? The taproot, or the basic fundamental of all confusion, is our failure to use our minds intelligently in God-like way. Religion and all that implies in prayer and recognition of manifestation is the one and only way out of the chaos in which we find ourselves. So you have the answer to getting out of the chaos that we're in. The key to it is we have to do it. Okay? So we're right back to doing it. So I appreciate it. As you can tell, now we will tell you I can't be another on the house. Because the kingdom of heaven is within. And everything we worry about is already handled if we would just let go and let God. And love each other and appreciate each other. And even that next door neighbor that you don't like, go kiss him on the cheek.
No way.
And at least think your thoughts of send them love. Okay? There's an interesting thing. Here's an assignment. The neighbors on both sides of you, pray for them this next week. Okay? I love you. Thank you. I'm finished.